Holy Gospel according to Mark. Some Pharisees and several teachers of the law of Moses from Jerusalem came and gathered around Jesus. They noticed that some of his disciples ate without first washing their hands. The Pharisees and all the other Jewish people obey the teachings of their ancestors. They always wash their hands in the proper way before eating. None of them will eat anything they buy in the market until it is washed. They also follow a lot of the other teachings, such as purifying and cleansing and washing cups and pitchers and bowls. The Pharisees and the teachers asked Jesus, "Why don't your disciples obey what our ancestors taught us to do? Why do they eat without washing their hands?" Jesus called the crowd together and said, "Pay attention and try to understand what I mean. The food that you put into your mouth doesn't make you unclean or unfit for God. The bad words that come out of your mouth are what make you unclean and unfit for God. Out of your heart come evil thoughts, bad deeds, stealing, murder, unfaithfulness, greed, meanness, deceit, envy, insults, pride, and foolishness. All of these come from inside your heart. They're what make you unfit to worship God." The Gospel of the Lord. I invite all the children with us this morning to please come up and have a seat on the sanctuary stairs, and we'll discuss what Jesus is trying to teach us this week. Good morning, brave children. Thank you for coming forward. Let's start by guessing what's in the bag, and it has something to do with what Jesus was just talking about in that gospel. Who wants to take a wild guess? Yes, sir. A rag? No, but that would have been good because he was talking about washing hands. Another guess? Yeah? So, you're getting closer. You're warmer. You're so close, I think. Well, let's try Chase first. Yeah. What do you think?
A washcloth?
A washcloth? You all are right on track. It's not soap or a washcloth, but it's hand sanitizer. Which does the same thing. But why would I put hand sanitizer in there this week? Yeah. He was talking about the disciples not washing their hands when they should. Did you want to add anything to that? Is that what you were going to say? Yeah. They were getting on Jesus and his disciples about not washing their hands, about doing what they should do before they worship in the temple. But it wasn't exactly what we think. Have you all ever had somebody who, no matter how much good you do, they point out what you do bad instead? Or have you ever taken home your report card and you're real proud of a few good grades, and instead your parents say, "Well, what about this one?" That's what my mom used to do. It used to drive me crazy. So to find all the good things, she'd find the bad. Yeah. Okay, so the same has happened to you. How does it feel like when someone only points out the bad things that you do instead of the good? What's that make you feel like? Makes you feel mad? Makes you want to pout? Imagine how Jesus must have felt. These scribes and Pharisees were in charge of the church. They were like our bishops and cardinals nowadays. And they were just trying to find any little thing that Jesus could do wrong. And what they were talking about is not just washing your hands before you eat. We all wash our hands before we eat. They were talking about the service in the temple. Just like when we come here, when Jesus was in the temple, there was a washing of hands. Now when the servers wash my hands, there's no soap and water. There's no hand sanitizer. It's symbolic. It's a symbolic purification before we handle the Eucharist. And what I say when the servers do that is, "Lord, wash me of my iniquities and cleanse me from my sins." So that's what they were getting on Jesus and his disciples about. But why would Jesus not need that symbolic washing of cleansing him of the sins? Because he had no sins. And that's probably why he was saying, you make all these rules and regulations, but you don't pay attention what's good and right and true. And Jesus, instead of the rules and the traditions, was more about love and caring than he was about keeping those traditions. We come here to Mass, but we don't come here just for an hour. We have to be doers of the Word when we leave here. We have to care for other people. How do we do that after we're here at Mass on weekends? What do we do throughout the week? Yeah. To help people when they need to be helped. Yeah. Any other way? Any other ways to be doers of the Word after we leave here?
Pray for others.
To pray for other people? That definitely makes a big difference. Anything else? What else do we do to show God's love when we leave here? Well, just yesterday, What else do we do? We love with all our hearts. That's exactly right. If we do that, we can't go wrong. Just yesterday, I was going over to fill up a gas at UDF, and every weekend there's a girl on the corner with a cardboard thing asking for help. And I usually drive right past. Yesterday, I thought, I can't preach this weekend and ignore that person. So I did give her some help. And I know oftentimes people say, well, don't give them money because you never know what they're going to use it for. But I don't think Jesus would have asked anybody what they're going to use it for. I think he just would have helped them. And that's what he calls us to do. So this week, St. James tells us how to do that. He says to be doers of the Word and not just hearers. And he says to take care of the widows, the orphans, and all those who need our help. The widows are the people who don't have a husband but are still trying to raise a family. The orphans are people who don't have parents. We're supposed to help all those people in need in whatever way that we can. Now today I'm going to wrap things up with, this is the holy card that I had made up the day that I became a priest. And actually the saying on it is from Micah in the Old Testament. But I think it's exactly what Jesus is trying to teach us this week. It says, this is what the Lord asks of you, and it's pretty simple. To act justly, to love tenderly, and to walk humbly with your God. What's it mean to act justly? Does anybody want to guess? Yeah, man. Fairly, yeah. To treat everyone with fairness. Because everyone deserves treatment because Christ is present in everyone. So to act justly, to treat everyone fairly. To love tenderly, that's pretty simple. To love like Jesus loved. What about to walk humbly with your God? Does anybody want to guess what that means? Yeah. Exactly. Walking humbly with God is doing what God asks us to do. Realizing that God works through us. We can't do it. But walking humbly with God is allowing God to work through us, to do what God's calling us to do, and to put His love into the rest of the world. So this week when you leave here, remember and remind your parents, we don't just come here for an hour. We come here to hear what we should do, and then when we go back into the world, we become doers of the Word and not just hearers. Thank you all very much for coming up and being so brave. You did a great job.